You know, being sensitive is one of your superpowers, but you probably don't even think about it that way because you're so used to it being a negative thing. Because think about it, when people call you sensitive, they're just saying that you're too much, you know, you're too emotional, you're just like, you know, boo-hooing over here, you're just always a hot mess. When really, if you can really truly channel in the fact that you can feel things so deeply and viscerally, and you almost have this like sixth sense about, you know, what's going on in the room, and you can really truly channel that energy, you can take off. Like, you can utilize that skill for so many different things, for good, for not evil. But essentially, if you are somebody who's really sensitive, you're probably identifying as being an empath too, you know, and part of being an empath, the whole narrative that you hear is that if you're an empath, you're constantly absorbing other people's energy. So when you have an interaction with somebody and you kind of take on that energy, you make their problem your problem and you go home with it. You're thinking about their issue, you're feeling it in your physical body, and there's just kind of a wishy-washy boundary on what's theirs and what's yours. And that's kind of what the conversation here today is, that we can't have that be the way. Because if you understand how to truly channel your sensitivity and really embrace the fact that you can feel things so deeply, you're going to be able to use this as a superpower rather than something that's always an obstacle. So you as a healer or a wellness practitioner, somebody who's in a service-based space where you're interacting with other people, you're going to need to know boundaries at some point. And it's good for you to develop these skills right now, even if for years and years at a time you feel like this is just who I am and that's just my personality trait. I'm just going to keep absorbing all of that. Not here. Don't do that, okay? We're going to learn how to actually channel our superpower so that we can actually have respect for ourselves, so that we can ground into our own energy, and then we can also utilize and channel energy in a way that is helpful for everybody. There's so many different reasons why you can be a sensitive person, but essentially if we want to truly understand where this comes from, we have to go back to our childhood. We have to look at mini you, little you, and how it is that you were protecting yourself and the habits, behaviors, thoughts, and patterns and attitudes you developed back then that has carried all the way here to your adult life today. And you know, there's sensory reasons for why somebody is sensitive or not, but if we actually truly look at a childhood perspective, there's so many different ways that even you as a really tiny small child, and I'm not talking about like a 10-year-old, I'm talking about like a small little infant child, from even back then, you were very, very attuned to what was happening around you. You knew like your mom's facial expression. You knew your caretaker's energy. You sensed like something was wrong, or the tone of voice that somebody was speaking in. You picked it up even if you didn't really have like the context of the words as like a 1-year-old, like what the heck was happening, but you were kind of picking up on these clues. And so there's a lot of your childhood that has informed why and how it is that you're sensitive, and a part of it's also that you learn from a very young age not to burden other people. You learn to predict other people's needs before thinking about yourself. You were really, you were predicting like, what is my mom gonna need because she works 3 jobs and after that she needs to nap. So I'm just not gonna be annoying and tell her about my feelings and my issues because like she's busy. And it's not like she didn't want to spend time with you. It's because like you projected that to her because you thought that that's what was going to happen. And so there's this kind of like future telling that starts to happen when you're really sensitive. You start to create narratives and you don't have the conversations that you could have. You don't put yourselves in the situations that you would or you could. There's a part of you that prevents yourself from really fully, truly, authentically living because you're afraid that it's going to upset someone. So enter people pleasing, right? Like enter that this is you in your people pleasing era, and it didn't start in your adulthood. You may have doubled down on it in your adulthood for sure, but it actually really started in your childhood where you just wanted to predict what other people need so that you could take care of themselves, so you could take care of them first, and so that you could, make them comfortable and make them feel good and make them feel seen and make them feel loved at the cost of yourself, okay? And it's a huge cost of yourself because once or twice it's like, okay, whatever, like I did something for someone else and inconvenienced me, and like, okay, whatever, I'll get over it. But over time, once you keep continuing to do it, your energetic body starts to develop that neural pattern. So neural patterns are kind of just like, if you're thinking about changing a mindset, you know, the more that you do a pattern, do a habit, literally your brain chemistry changes, and the way that your neurons are firing changes in your brain. Now, that is same for your physical body too. Your body is also wired in a very specific way, and the more that you do something, the more that it thinks it's normal, and the more that you try to undo it, it's just like, no, we want to go back to the thing that we know. And so there is this undoing, unlearning process that is absolutely important for you as a sensitive person, as an empath, if you're really truly wanting to have an established boundary that are going to last, they're going to stick, and they're going to be aligned in your favor. So I'm pretty sure that you already understand why boundaries are important. So I'm not here to like really lecture you about like boundaries are important. I'm really wanting to show you the way that you can actually think about setting these boundaries. And especially if you're somebody who practices in the healing arts, you're a healer, you're a coach, you're a therapist, you're a nurse, you're a doula, you're interacting with other people who come to you with their problems, right? So you might be feeling energy leaks. You might be feeling ungrounded. You might be feeling disconnected from your intuition. You feel like people took more from you than they gave to you. There's an unequivalent energy exchange, and literally just like think about, even as I'm saying this, like it's this kind of feeling in your stomach. It's almost like you take this hose, you stick it into your stomach, and your energy is like literally being extracted from you. It's like it's getting sucked out of you. And so now we're talking about how is it that we can prevent that. The first thing you want to do to actually learn how to establish and create boundaries for yourself, if you're feeling this kind of overwhelm, is to prioritize alone time. And that is really scary for people pleasers and for highly sensitive people, to kind of just like be alone in your thoughts, because it's like, I'm already sensitive, and then now you're going to leave me alone with my thoughts, and now I'm like, like it's a lot. But that is something that you want to start training your body to do, and for your mind to be able to experience yourself by yourself. And this is really important, because sometimes you don't actually know what's yours and what somebody else's, because you literally just don't spend enough time by yourself, you know. And the only time you think to spend time by yourself is when you're trying not to be like inconvenient to other people. But part of your daily routine, and part of your weekly routine, and part of your monthly routine, you have to carve out time where you're intentionally spending time with yourself. So you start to see, like, do I physically feel this way just like as a normal thing, as like a normalcy, or do I feel this way because I'm like constantly interacting and putting myself in places that make me feel this way? Am I in social circumstances that make my stomach turn into knots? Am I interacting with a particular friend or a particular client or a particular community that leaves me feeling this way? And it's like, up here you might have like a clue, but your physical body is the one who's going to tell that to you. But you do actually have to spend time in order to learn how to talk to your physical body in order for you to get those clues. And so what this can tangibly look like is that you're spending time without holding space for other people. So it's not like spending time by myself, but I'm also on the phone with my friend, and I'm also like texting with them, and I'm also like sending emails. It's like, no, this is time for me. And like, honestly, like I put that disclaimer there for you. Like sometimes it's scary to like do the alone time thing, you know, and to really understand like, what is your relationship with you? What is your relationship with the feelings that are coming out for you? And in a lifetime of predicting other people's needs and other people's things and what other people need and what they're all these different things, like it's time for you to understand, like, what do you need? You know, like what are your desires? What is your spatial, energetic, emotional, mental, spiritual, social needs, and are those things you can be aware of in this moment? So you might already know that like you're overextended, like you spend too much time with other people, and especially, you know, like if you're a social butterfly and you like love the interaction and all this kind of stuff, and you love making people feel good, cool, those are characteristics of like somebody who also needs to learn how to spend a little alone time too, you know. And so when you start to spend this this alone time, allowing these kinds of energies to separate. What is mine? Like, is this mine, or is this because like I'm constantly texting with a stressed out friend, and because like I'm trying to solve her problem, I feel like I'm taking on this problem too. So my physical body lives in this moment of like constantly needing to solve a problem when the problem's not even mine. You know, like the problem is actually somebody else's, and no shade, no shame. I love them, but like their problem is just not my problem. And the part of me that wants to make it my problem, that's the thing that you're healing through right now. That's the part of you that you're separating, that you can simultaneously love and care and appreciate and really honor and respect somebody else's issues and problems and needs. And it's not either or, and also truly start to understand what the heck your needs are too. So the way that you're showing up for others, like turn that back, like turn that over here and start to show up for yourself by spending that alone time. Now that leads me to the next part, which is to say, start to learn body literacy. Body literacy is this umbrella term that literally just means, do you know how to talk to your body, and do you know how your body talks to you? And low-key, because you are sensitive, like your body's always talking to you. You know, the bubble guts, the feeling on the shoulders, the clenching in the heart, the constriction, the expansion, the stomach, the pelvis, like you're constantly doing this in your physical body. And point one was that alone time, and the body literacy kind of comes from being able to discern what is actually yours and what is being initiated by your environment. And so this is also a task, and this is also a task in you learning how to communicate with the body cues that you're being sent. Let me backtrack a little bit, because body literacy really just allows you to understand what's in your life and what kind of interactions are energy givers, meaning that they actually nourish you and enrich you and make you feel whole and just like, you know, make you feel ooey gooey juicy, and you just feel like replenished after those interactions or those situations, versus what are energy takers. Okay, energy givers, energy takers, and these are not the same thing. And you have a really good intuition around what those takers are. You just haven't made those big person decisions to like, you know, cut the ties or to limit your interactions in those energy taking moments or those energy taking situations just yet. Okay, but when you start to like literally see it on paper, where you're like, okay, you know, after these interactions I'm just like completely freaking drained, and after these types of interactions I'm just like lit up, like that fire, that passion, that energy, that enthusiasm, the like I can't wait to do this again. There's a part of you that already knows that. So when you're learning body literacy, you're actually going to start to trust the cues that your body says. And as you were a young child, and as you were, you know, a teenager and a young adult, like you started to ignore these body cues because you didn't know how to interpret them. You know, it's like, yeah, it's uncomfortable to hang out with these friends, but like you weren't gonna like cancel your friends because that's just who you hang out with. These are just the neighborhood kids, and that's just who's available. So you would rather continue this interaction than like be alone and by yourself, probably when you were a younger kid, you know? And so those kinds of behaviors kind of translated from the past into this present moment, because you're still doing those things, but you have to make some big decisions about canceling some things from your life that are energy takers. They're taking, and you feel depleted. You feel completely just like, you know, deflated. You just feel like completely like sucked out because it wasn't the right interaction for you. And especially if you know that you're so sensitive to the energy, you know that like you're gonna feel this, and you're gonna feel this deeply, and you're gonna feel this heavily, then like you do have some choice and responsibility on making those decisions on where it is that you're gonna hang out versus the places that it's just not gonna make sense for you. And that's huge for you. So both of those things, spending alone time for yourself to understand like what your body is saying to you, leads me into the next thing, which is you have to learn how to regulate your nervous system, because people-pleasing behavior is a complete dysregulation of your nervous system. Your body is on hyper alert. It is always reading the room. It is always trying to future project. It's always 10 steps ahead of what's happened or what's not happened. It puts you into hyper arousal, where you're overthinking the situation situation, you're making predictions of things that haven't happened. You're connecting the dots. You're doing this, and this. And is this person going to be okay? All of this stuff is your body in overreaction. It's in overdrive, okay, or hyper arousal. And this is actually a survival mode. So your body is in a constant state of sympathetic nervous state where your body does not know how to relax. Your body wants to come into a parasympathetic state where it can rest, it can relax, it can download, it can feel creative, it can do all your immune boosting activities, your deep theta work that happens in a parasympathetic nervous state. Your body wants to do that. It's asking you to do that. But if you're neglecting those things for your body because you're just like, we're just always going to be on high alert, we're always going to do this, and like if you're always in this kind of up mode, your body is dysregulated, and you probably have suffered from that. So what this looks like is that you probably don't know how to sleep well, or you do sleep, but it's just not restful because it's always up. Your body's always up. Your brain wants to go into a theta state in order for your body to do the deep healing work. It wants to give you the lucid dreams. It wants to give you, the creative downloads. It wants to give you the connection to all of these different things. It's not that you don't have connection to that, it's that it makes it harder for your physical body and your energetic body to give that to you when you're always on defense mode, okay? And people pleasing is a defense mode because you're essentially avoiding uncomfort or discomfort and uncomfortable situations, conversations, decisions in order to temporarily feel okay, but in the long term, hyper dysregulate your physical body. Okay, so learn to regulate your nervous system. And if you are wanting to learn how to regulate your nervous system, I'm going to leave you a resource here, which is 7 days of breathing techniques for 7 minutes a day. It's the easiest way that you can start, especially if you're brand new to nervous system regulation, where you're going to be guided through breathing techniques that help you have a little bit more body awareness. So this piece of you learning how to talk to your body is going to help you understand what clues and cues your body is sending you, and you're going to be able to expand your energetic capacity by learning breathing techniques. I'll leave the link in the description here. The last one that I'll leave you here with today, and honestly, we can just keep going on and on, but the last one I want to give you today is keep some things to yourself. This desire that you have to share everything with everyone is an energy leak. Okay, and there is a part of you that just hopes for the best. Like you hope that somebody can hold this. You hope that they'll be able to be there for you. You hope. And while it is good to take a chance on like letting people hold things for you, this is also a lesson in certain things you just need to have a sacred experience with. You just need to have a private, vulnerable experience with some things in your life. And it's okay that not everybody knows your freaking business. This is an important skill, especially as a sensitive person, especially as an empath. You are just like wearing your sleeves, wearing your heart on your sleeves. You're wearing everything. It's just so apparent. Your emotions are on your face. Your feelings are just like pouring out of every pore of your body. Your words, like there's no privacy. So that alone time, that point one that I was making for you earlier, is like it translates into this too. There is something so sacred and beautiful in learning what that solitude is, like how to actually hold things for yourself and really love on certain things without just like giving it away like that. So look at what in your life you feel violated when you share, where it doesn't feel like it was like an empowering thing for you to share. So maybe this is something that has to do with your life history. Maybe it has to do with your home. Maybe it has to do with a project. Maybe it has to do with a relationship. Like everybody does not need access to you. And trust me, they're going to be fine if you're not there taking care of them 24/7. And that's the goal, because you as a person who wants so deeply for people to feel good, for them to have the tools, for them to have the resources, you should want that for yourself too, that they'll be okay when you're not there. And you got to allow yourself to have that too, that you'll be okay when other people are not there too. So this really becomes an important reflection for you, because you have to look, do I give away things where I don't want to? Do I overshare? Do I overexert? Am I spread thin? And what is it that I can, if it's spread out like that, how can I breathe and collect something here that is just so precious to me, that can stay here for me, that can be just absolutely for me and no one else, and I'm not going to feel guilty about it. I'm not going to feel selfish about it. I'm not going to feel shame around it. I'm not going to be bullied to share that because people are used to having like unfiltrated access to me. I'm just going to do that. And let me know if you are somebody who is highly sensitive or you identify as an empath, because I would love to kind of know and understand what kind of tools and resources have you been using to kind of, deal with like the fact that you feel all these different things. What's your energy hygiene routine? Let me know. And of course, remember, the world is your playground. And until next time, I will catch you soon.